questions? Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All set to begin at 11.
Thank you. Good morning. As the Vice Chair of the Commission, I call this meeting of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission to order at 11 a.m. This Zoom webinar is being live streamed to YouTube at www.youtube.com/MICH/SOS office/videos. For anyone in the public watching who would prefer to watch via a different platform than they are currently using, please visit our social media at Redistricting MI to find the link for either viewing on YouTube. Our live stream today includes closed captioning. We have ASL interpretation available for this meeting. If you are a member of the public watching who would like easier viewing options for ASL interpreter on your screen, please email us at redistricting@michigan.gov and we will provide you with additional viewing options. Similarly, members of the public who would like to access translation services during the webinar can email us at redistricting@michigan.gov for details on how to access language translation services available for this meeting. Translation services are available for both Spanish and Arabic. Please email us at redistricting@michigan.gov and we will provide you with a unique link and call-in information. People with disabilities needing other specific accommodations should contact redistricting@michigan.gov. This meeting is being recorded and will be available at redistrictingmichigan.org for viewing at a later date. This meeting is also being transcribed, and those transcriptions will be made available and posted on the redistrictingmichigan.org along with written public comment submissions. Members of the media who may have questions before, during, or after the meeting should direct those questions to Edward Woods III, Communications and Outreach Director for the Commission, at woodse3@michigan.gov or 517-331-6309. Members of the media should have his contact information. For purposes of the public watching and for the public record, I will turn to the Department of State staff to take notes of the commissioners present.
Good morning, commissioners. When I call your name, please unmute yourself and indicate where you are attending the meeting remotely from. Doug Clark.
Present, and I'm remotely attending the meeting from Rochester Hills, Michigan.
Juanita Curry.
Present, and I'm remotely attending the meeting from Detroit, Michigan.
Anthony Eade.
Present, virtually attending from Wayne County, Michigan.
Brittany Kellum. Rhonda Lang.
Present, attending remotely from Reed City, Michigan.
Steve Lett,
Present, I'm attending from Lee County, Florida.
Cynthia Orton, MC Rothhorn,
Present, attending from Lansing, Michigan.
Rebecca Zatella,
Present, attending remotely from Wayne County, Michigan.
Janice Follett,
Present, attending from Highland, Michigan remotely.
Aaron Wagner,
Present, attending remotely from Eaton County, Michigan.
Richard Weiss,
Present and attending remotely from Saginaw, Michigan.
Dustin Witches.
Present, attending remotely from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
There are 11 of 13 commissioners present and a quorum.
Thank you very much, Sally. As a reminder to the public watching, you can see the agenda at redistrictingmichigan.org. I will now entertain a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Okay, we have a
Second.
motion. Who was the second?
I'll
Steve,
be the second.
Oh,
Steve. So a motion by Commissioner Eid, seconded by Commissioner Lett. All right. If it is all in favor, please raise your hand to so indicate. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries. The agenda is adopted. We will now review and approve the meeting minutes from the last meeting. Are there any edits to the meeting minutes? Yes.
Madam Chair, the minutes from yesterday's meeting will be provided next week for your review, both yesterday's meeting and today's meeting.
Okay. All right. So, whoops, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get back to where I was. All right. We will now move on to public comments. A few notes for the public comment for those of you who are joining us for the first time. Because this is a virtual meeting, members of the public had to sign up in advance to address the commission. Staff at the Department of State will unmute each member of the public for up to 2 minutes on a first come, first serve basis. This means members of the public will be called on in the order in which they signed up to address the commission. To those members of the public participating in public comment, please note you will have no more than 2 minutes to address this commission. You may also submit your thoughts to the commission and the public by emailing redistricting@michigan.gov. The Department of State will provide your written thoughts to the commission. By indicating in that email that you would like to submit your written comment as public comment, it will be included in the online meeting archive for the commission. Public comment sign-in links are also posted on Redistricting Michigan's social media pages at Facebook and Twitter @redistrictingmi. Now I would like to recognize Sally Marsh, Michigan Department of State Director of Special Projects, who will call on members of the public to address the commission.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. There are no live public comment participants today.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. Do we have any correspondence to address either?
No, we do not have any correspondence today.
Okay, so we will move on to the next item on our agenda. We do not have any unfinished business. So we will move on to new business, which is recommendations for the promotional consultants. Edward Woods.
Good morning, and thank you, members of the commission. I'm gonna share my screen. So just give me a second. If you can see it, nod your head. Okay, great. All right, as you know, we'll just a little background. The commission approved soliciting 3 informal bids to provide public relations consulting for the Southeast Michigan media market and the media markets in Michigan, excluding Southeast Michigan media market. This process provides a cost range of $5,000 to $49,999.99. Bids were posted on the MICRC website and State Sigma site. Bids were sent to the PRSA, Public Relations Society of America of Mid-Michigan, and the PRSA of Detroit chapter. Outreach was also done to public relations firms in Lansing as well as in Detroit. The process was used for the following purposes: to recognize the population density in Southeast Michigan compared to the rest of the state, ensure effective and efficient grassroots outreach to diverse communities of interest in Southeast Michigan, acknowledge that the strategy in reaching rural areas are different than urban areas, and then address the cost concerns with utilizing pre-existing requests for proposals. If you remember before, we were looking at two contractors that were previously on the state's list, and when the cost came back, there was a concern with regards to costs. And so now we're using this 3 informal bid process to ensure that we're getting exactly what we need at an affordable rate. For Southeast Michigan, we received 3 informal bids from M3 Group, McConnell Communications, and Van Dyke Horn. Bids were evaluated by MICRC and MDOT staff according to policy based on the following: campaign plan, methods, hourly rate, budget allocation, timelines, expertise, experience, and outreach. Staff is recommending negotiating with McConnell Communications based on their plan for grassroots outreach and reaching the diverse populations in Southeast Michigan, experience and success in doing similar work, and media relationships. At this time, Madam Chair, we're asking to the commission to authorize MICRC staff to enter contract negotiations with McConnell Communications not to exceed $49,999.99 for the Southeast PR consulting contract.
Okay, thank you very much. Any comments or questions for Edward? I see Rhonda, and then Anthony, and then Doug.
Thank you. I'm just curious, do we get any information about the companies themselves? Do we see the bids, or is this just kind of blind for the commission? Are we just going to be voting blindly? I guess I'm asking because every other thing, the RFPs and everything, we've always had information on them. That's why I ask.
Right, no. With the 3 informal bid process, I was just following the guidelines where we would solicit the bids. And then it says that the staff needs to review the bids and then that they need to come before the commission. So this is different than the RFP process, which has more than $50,000. This is less than $50,000. So I was just following the process as outlined.
But I guess following up on that, excuse me, I'm sorry, Doug, go ahead.
I think Anthony was
Go
next,
ahead,
so why
Steve.
don't we, Steve, if you want to follow up on Rhonda's question, if that makes sense, go ahead, and then we'll go to Anthony and then Doug.
Well, I was just wondering, I assume the staff has looked at these 3 and would like to know what their evaluation was, what they based it on, how we made the decision, et cetera, et cetera.
I can, sure, I can go back and share the screen. Staff is recommending negotiating with McConnell Communications based on their plan for grassroots outreach and reaching the diverse populations or community interests in Southeast Michigan, experience and success in doing similar work. They've worked with the Office of the Michigan Department of Insurance and Financial Services with regards to the No Fault campaign. They've also done previous work with Flint. And so they've done work in terms of grassroots community outreach. what we looked at. And then they have the media relationships as former journalists and media news reporters in the Southeast Michigan market with regards to their staff that they presented. So this is basically a summary of what we identified and noticed. The people that also reviewed the bids are here on the line, which included our executive director, Sue Ann Hammersmith, also our general counsel, Julianne Pestula, and then MDOT staff would include Sally Marsh and Sarah Reinhardt. But this is just a summary of what we looked at in terms of why we felt they would be the best fit for the Southeast Michigan market based upon the evaluation criteria that you see in the second bullet.
Thank you, Edward. Anthony, I'm sorry. Sue, did you want to add to Edward's comment since you reviewed the proposals?
Yes, I just wanted to mention that middle paragraph. So what we did was do a rubric and looked at their campaign plans, their methods of communication, their hourly rates, their budget allocation, their timelines, expertise, and experience. So each one of the staff members did rate based on that grid, and then came together to gather our thoughts together to determine which would be the best bid. And the one thing that we really liked about this particular bid is their grassroots outreach, because we feel in that market especially, there's going to be lots of communities of interest, and they seem best equipped to do that.
Okay, thank you. Anthony?
Edward, could you tell us a little bit about the methods that McConnell Communications are going to use as far as executing, this grassroots approach? Are they going to be like going door to door? Are they going to be using technology? Can you just give us a little information about that?
Sure. They plan to work with the churches. They plan to work with organized labor, social justice organizations, precinct delegates is what they outlined, business leaders and organizations, block club meetings in terms of neighborhood association meetings, and then also working with police community precinct meetings in the Southeast area.
All right, Commissioner Clark, go ahead.
Yeah, this is directed to Edward. Have you used any of these three companies before? And do you know of, or have had any experience with them?
I've had experience working with M3 as well as McConnell. Not very much with Van Dyke with regards to the plan, but definitely familiar with the other two.
Okay, we'll talk about that later once we get the proposals back then. Okay, thanks.
Aaron, is that your hand up? Okay. Any other comments, questions? Steve.
I take it these are hourly rate contracts. Is that correct?
Yes, for the most part.
And what is McConnell's hourly rate?
$175.
Plus expenses?
Correct.
And how does that compare with MC Group and Van Dyke?
Van Dyke is based upon, they did a time allocation. So when you look at it, you're looking at them by principal. So their CEO is $285. Their senior account executive is $165. Their account executive is $135. And their junior account executive is $95. But having said that, they provided a 10% discount with regards to the rates. So that's how they did theirs. And then with M3 Group, I believe it was, hold on.
I think that one's $150.
$150.
170, you said?
150.
150.
Okay, Commissioner Clark.
Yeah, to follow up on that, is there an estimate on how many hours that they're gonna need to do the work?
Well, sure. Well, the estimate really with regards to the negotiations, what we were
Okay.
trying to do was identify the price and what they're able to do so that they would not exceed what we need in the threshold. Initially, what McConnell was suggesting to do was 20 to 25 hours. But we think we need a little bit more. And then with the Van Dyke, they were looking at a total of, they had it divided up in 6. So let me just add it up for you because they did it by phases. But they estimated 10, 20, 65 hours in phase 1, 70 hours in phase 2, 60 hours in phase 3, 65 hours in phase 4, 110 hours for media relations, and 65 hours phase 6 for community partnerships. For
I see.
M3,
Go ahead.
for M3, 60, 90, 130, 190, and 245 hours from M3.
Thank you, Adam.
Dustin, go ahead.
What was the hourly rate for the one in the middle?
The Van Dyke had 4 hourly rates, Dustin, because it depends on, they're using 4 people. They don't have a standard flat rate like
got it.
McConnell was doing and like
Okay.
M3 was doing.
Okay, because I did the 175 and then I figured that the maximum amount of hours for 49,999 would be 285.
Right. And so I mean, you know, that's the cap. What we were looking at was the expertise in the infrastructure that they already had in doing it. So
Right.
with them, it wouldn't take as much because those infrastructures are already in place.
Got it. Okay.
Go ahead, Steve, and then Anthony.
I'm sure somebody's gonna question whatever we do, since they always do. Are one of these groups, if we're looking at McConnell, are they primarily on one side of the aisle or the other, or do they work both sides?
They all work both sides.
Okay, Anthony, go ahead.
I guess, Edward, in your professional communications experience, are these offers, specifically the one from McConnell Communications, they in line with what you usually get for this type of work?
If you look at it, they're all pretty much the same, you know, in terms of the principles, in terms of what they were using, the 150 to 175 range. It's pretty much the same. So, I mean, I don't see them as different. The issue is who can hit the ground running and has the infrastructure in place. And we found that McConnell Communications had that better than the other 2 organizations, specifically as relates to grassroots, as Sue mentioned, and our communities of interest that we really want to address throughout the Southeast Michigan area.
Okay, any additional comments? All right, so do we want to entertain a motion at this time to adopt those? Steve, go ahead.
I would move that we approve the hiring of the McConnell Communications at 175 an hour.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Dustin.
We have a motion by Commissioner Lett, seconded by Dustin Witches to approve the hiring of McConnell at the rate of $175 an hour. All in favor, please raise your hand to so indicate.
To clarify, I think this would be to enter into contract negotiations, right, Edward?
Correct.
Yes, so contract negotiations. Thank you for that clarification, Commissioner Eid. So motion to enter into contract negotiations with McConnell. All in favor, please raise your hand to so indicate. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All opposed, same sign. I was seeing 10 in favor, 1 opposed. The motion carries. Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Now we need to go to the other markets outside of Southeast.
Okay.
So let me share my screen. Okay, can everyone still see my screen? Can you see my screen? Okay, great. All right, then we have Michigan Accept Southeast Michigan. We received 2 informal bids, one from the M3 Group and the Van Dyke Horn. 2 declined because of having too much work. Another one was COVID-19. Then the other firm that we worked with basically had an exodus of staff. So we were unable to reach out and get a bid from them. Bids were evaluated using the same method. Staff is recommending negotiating with Van Dyke Horn because of their knowledge of redistricting, as evident in the proposal, the expertise and experience with similar statewide awareness campaigns, and a tailored approach to reach diverse audiences. We felt that this would be helpful as it relates to Native Americans and rural areas outside of Southeast Michigan, where they have had some success with state awareness campaigns, usually with the ALICE campaign, which is with the United Way. They also worked with the Michigan Nonprofit Association. So with that, they've done some work with the Alzheimer's Association as well. So we just thought that they would be our best bet working on the campaign on a statewide basis outside of Southeast Michigan. And so the recommendation is to authorize the MICRC staff in consideration of the 2 bids received to enter contract with negotiations with Van Dyke Horn Public Relations not to exceed $49,999.99.
Okay, Dustin, go ahead.
Based on the same information from last, I put forth a motion to approve going into contract negotiations.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a second? And then I see your hand, Rhonda, so I'll call on you. Juanita, are you seconding? Second. Okay, so we have a motion from Commissioner Wishes, seconded by Commissioner Curry to authorize staff to enter into negotiations with, I'm going to kill this name here. I got to look at it. Van Horn Dyke, is that correct?
Van Dyke Horn.
Van Dyke Horn. Okay, sorry, I don't have it in front of me. All right, before we vote on the motion, I saw that Rhonda had her hand up with some discussion, so I'm going to call on Commissioner Lang.
I have the same questions about details, and also I want to know if either one of the 2 were located outside of Southeast Michigan, if they're going to be communicating with the entire state. Was there anybody that lived in a different part of the state that might be familiar with areas outside of Southeast Michigan?
Yes, Maureen lives right here in Lansing, and she'll be the principal person. Here, she staffs their Lansing office, and she'll be the principal person here in Lansing. She's had experience, more than 20 years of experience. She's worked with the Michigan Nonprofit Association, the Alliance of Michigan Energy Consumers, ACLU of Michigan, Alzheimer's Association of Michigan, American Task Force for Lebanon, and the State of Michigan Unemployment Insurance Agency. She's done public policy, integrated media relations campaign, and stakeholder communications for more than 2 decades. She's based right here. She has experience working with state government and internally and with aligned organizations. And her primary clients have included coalitions and associations for stakeholder engagement and targeted outreach to a broad spectrum of current and potential stakeholders.
And where was the other applicant from?
M3 right here in Lansing.
So M3 is Lansing and then the other one is Detroit, correct? Were there any from, say, UP, Northern Michigan, west
No.
side of the state or anything? Those were the only ones?
Those are the only two that came in, correct?
Okay.
All right, Commissioner Lett?
The person you just went over, that's the principal for
Van Dyke Horn.
Okay, and who's the principal for McConnell?
Darcy McConnell.
Okay. Thank you.
And then for M3 would be Tiffany Dowling.
Okay, any other comments? Go ahead, Rhonda.
Sorry, what was the pay for each?
It's still the same. In terms of for Tiffany Dowling was 150. And then for, remember the Van Dyke Horn, they had a hybrid model with regards to if we're using the CEO or the senior account executive. The senior account executive is the bulk of the person and her rate is 165, but that's discounted 10% by their proposal. So if you're looking for an apples to apples comparison, because like it's the CEO was 285, the senior account executive would be the principal, it's 165. The account exec is 135, the junior account exec is 95, but the bulk of the work will be done by the senior account executive at the 165 rate.
Thank you, Edward. Commissioner Clark?
Yeah, Edward, and I mean, we're talking about different geography here, so I'm assuming the hours are going to be different.
Right, but they won't exceed the $49,999.99. The way we did that was with regards to the public hearings, they would not, we're not trying to get them to drive or choose hourly rate to go to Gaylord or Marquette. That's something we as a staff would do. But just want to be clear that this is just the rate excluding expenses. But we got to stay within our budget. This is the budget that the commission has approved. The commission, as you know, decided not to go with the RFP process because of the cost concerns. And so we made it very clear that we cannot exceed $49,999. And these are our parameters.
So the hours are not really defined, they're just the hourly rates defined, and it's capped at 49,000.
Correct, no matter who they use in the process.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, any additional comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, let's move forward with our vote on the motion. Again, the motion to clarify is to authorize MDOS staff to negotiate with Van Dyke Horn with respect to a contract with respect to the areas of Michigan outside of Southeast Michigan. If you are in favor of that motion, please indicate.
We just need to clarify, it's MICRC staff.
MICRC staff, sorry.
Okay.
MICRC staff to negotiate with Van Dyke Horn with respect to the marketing contract outside of Southeast Michigan. Is that correct?
Okay. Yeah, I'll just say it clearly. Authorize the MICRC staff in consideration of the two bids received to enter contract negotiations with Van Dyke Horn Public Relations not to exceed $49,999.99.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, please raise your hand to so indicate. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, all opposed, please raise your hand, same sign. Okay, I am seeing that the motion carries 9-2, so motion is adopted. All right, Edward, do you have any more requests from us?
I'm later in the agenda, so if you want me to go now, I can go now, or I can wait. Whatever's best for you all.
Why don't we follow the order of the agenda? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Moving on to our next agenda item, we have public hearings and town hall forums. Executive Director Hammersmith.
Good morning, commissioners. I just thought it would be helpful to put together a chart that describes the public hearings and the town hall forums and the differences. This can be then a resource for our commissioners. And also any members of the public who are watching can have a very clear understanding of how public hearings and town hall forums may be different. So I know you can all read, but I'm going to give a little bit of commentary on this. First and foremost, public hearings are official meetings of the MICRC. They're hosted by the MICRC. A town hall forum is hosted by an outside group or organization in collaboration. So we may have somebody attend another organization's town hall forum, but town hall forums are not sponsored by the commission. Public hearings are required by the Constitution. You know that in the Constitution, it's mandatory. We're required to have a minimum of 10 meetings in the first round of public hearings and a minimum of 5 in the second round. Town hall forums are permitted, on the other hand. They're allowed in the Constitution. And there's no required number or amount. We can do as many as, we can attend as many as we wish. For a public hearing, we know a quorum is required of the commission. For a town hall forum, if a quorum shows up, then it could become an official meeting of the commission. So we would prefer a lesser number to attend town hall forums to represent the commission. Our meetings are publicly recorded. So we have minutes, we have videos, we have transcripts. And they're live streamed. For a town hall forum, there's no public record required. And they're typically not live streamed or recorded. We as a commission certainly would not live stream or record them. If the sponsoring group chose to, they could. Our public hearings require formal public notice like all of our meetings. So you've seen the notices posted on the website. Those are required for all meetings of the commission according to the Open Meetings Act. For a town hall forum, it does require public notice also. It must be open to the general public. There should be advance notice. They should try to utilize various means to inform people of a public meeting. It should be easy to find. And for example, it could be posted on Facebook page of the organization, as long as it's an open page. And then, other people could share, but just one single person putting up on their Facebook page probably wouldn't qualify as public notification. As you know, all our meetings are open meetings per the Open Meetings Act. We follow that very closely. But the town hall forums, again, they just must be open to the general public. They do not have to follow an Open Meetings Act per se. We have our 3 purposes defined in the Constitution. That's to inform about redistricting, share the purpose and responsibilities of the commission, and then we solicit verbal or written comment, public comment about potential redistricting plans. A town hall forum typically will also inform. That's to create awareness and engagement. But it's to create engagement in sharing public comments. And as you know by the Constitution, the public comments at a town hall can only be given to the commission in writing, or at an open meeting. So this would not be a specific commission-specific meeting. Therefore, any public comments would have to be provided in writing or through, for example, the public comment tool or any one of the other means of public comment that is available. Lastly, we must follow state and local mandates regarding health orders and hold all our meetings either in person or virtually according to the Open Meetings Act. However, a town hall forum can be held virtually or in person. It's only subject to the state health mandates. So, for example, the League of Women Voters right now is hosting many town hall forums. Those are all on Zoom, and they're allowed to do that whether or not they don't have to comply with the same guidelines that we have to comply with regarding open meetings. So, and holding them in person or whether we can hold them virtually. So we, General Counsel Pestula just provided that information at a meeting recently. So I don't think you have questions there. But if this raises any questions or you have any questions about what I've shared, please feel free to ask.
Thank you. In terms of, so say we're at a town hall meeting and someone starts offering public comment to us, I'm assuming we should just sort of redirect them to either submit it in writing or use our public comment tool, or direct them to one of the other ways that they can submit comments to us rather than allowing that to continue.
Correct. That's correct. Yes, you would just direct them regarding how they can engage in public comment, or they would need to provide that in writing, but that's not really the preferred way for them to write something on a piece of paper and give it to individual commissioners. Really, using the public comment tool would be the ideal, or any means of public comment through the email submission, the Survey Monkey, all the vehicles that we currently have. Yes.
Okay. Any questions for Executive Director Hammersmith? Steve, go ahead.
Well, that raises an interesting conundrum, I guess, because at all of these that I've participated in, there's an open question and answer period after I've talked about the commission. Is that to mean that I'm not to answer the questions?
Well, I think you can certainly talk about the commission and the work of the commission. When people start asking about mapping, that's where we can only talk about mapping in open meetings and through the public comment tool. So maybe General Counsel Pestula can better clarify.
Yep, please go ahead, Julianne.
Okay, thank you. So the distinction I think that's important is that we're moving into a different type of public engagement in this next phase. So we'll have the public hearings, which are official commission meetings, and we're all very clear on that. The quorum will be present, the two-way communication and the contemporaneous viewing. Gave a couple of details on that for the public benefit to make sure we're on the same page. The local presentations that the commission was doing, those presentations were done at local units of governments, legislative bodies, or public body meetings. So all of those requirements met the Open Meetings Act and would qualify. So providing that information about what the commission is doing and where we've been and all of that would be appropriate. So the function, the town hall forums that we're speaking of now, is the secretary won't be present to receive the public comment, to log things in. So again, providing the information and directing people, the residents, to submit their comments through the public comment tool or at one of the public hearings. So that way all of the commission not only has the benefit of hearing it, but the rest of the residents of the state of Michigan do as well. I hope that was helpful.
Okay, Commissioner Lett, do you have another question?
Well, I guess, and maybe, I know Doug's been to a few of these. Doug, I assume you're getting questions when you go to these. How do you handle them?
Well, the way I've handled them is I answer them if it's something that we've already discussed and up to current history. Anything after that, I generally respond, particularly with mapping. I generally respond that we haven't engaged yet with the mapping consultant because we don't have currently don't have a purchase order with them, and we're working on that, which has been discussed in the open meetings. So I tend not to talk about any of the future types of things or how we're going to do things because we haven't defined some of those things yet. I just stick with the historical part of what we've done in the commission. That's how I've handled it, Steve.
I usually get a question about the census And what are we supposed to do since we're not going to have any numbers on a timely basis? And I typically go into some type of explanation of how our plans are to handle those. So I think that's providing information without saying what our decision's going to be. But I certainly don't want to come off as being aloof. We're there to provide information.
Correct. And I handle the census questions the same way. And the information I provide them is the information we've discussed in our open meetings, such as our plan to move a motion into the Supreme Court and the reason why we're doing that. And we've also gone into discussion of the importance that we get our work done on a timely basis, because they've got a lot of work after us. And so we get into discussion on that too, and how much work they have and what they've got to do. Because they've got to reevaluate all their precincts. And that, as far as a city does or a township does. So I get into those, but I tend to keep it toward things that we've discussed in previous meetings and not the futures, because we haven't really decided the futures yet. So. I haven't had any of the controversial subjects come up, Steve. Such as why we hire this person or that sort of thing. That has not surfaced at all. So.
Yeah, I haven't had that, but generally speaking, it's something off of what I've talked about, or something that they've seen on the news or in the paper, something like that.
Yeah, generally they're not into a lot of the detail of what goes on in the commission, and they're more curious about what we're doing and how we're proceeding along.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Julianne, go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is a great time again to highlight the reminder, not only for the benefit of the public, but the benefit of the commission. Again, is this what we're really talking about with all of this is subsection 11 of the Constitution, which prohibits commissioners and staff from discussing redistricting matters with members of the public outside of an open meeting. Again, the focus of the Constitution is transparency and fairness, and the Constitution sets out the process for the commission's meetings. Subsection 11 also has an important exception to that prohibition, that commissioners may discuss redistricting matters with members of the public to gain information relevant to the performance of their duties if the communication occurs in writing. So that feeds back into the remote meeting policy we discussed recently, where members of the public would like to communicate with a commissioner that's going to be absent or attending remotely an in-person meeting, they'll have the email to be able to do that and be in line with subsection 11. The second exception is that it may occur at a previously publicly noticed forum or town hall that is open to the general public. So again, the exception is very important, but we always have to be sensitive to the Constitution, and that the work of the commission should be occurring and must occur at the open, either regular meetings of the commission or public hearings. But again, I think that the manner in which we're approaching the town hall forums, making sure that, again, that the notice is accessible, the event is accessible to the general public, are critical pieces to make sure that the commission's work is in alignment with the Constitution. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments about town halls versus our public meetings? Okay, seeing none, I think we can move on to our next item on the agenda, which is the draft meeting agenda for public hearings.
Yes, it will be a very compressed time frame if you think about how our meetings are currently held. So it takes 15 minutes really to get to unfinished business in a typical agenda. So that leaves 45 minutes for a meeting, and recognize that there will likely be a lot of commotion and people coming in, et cetera, to the meeting venue at that point in time. I also wanted to make sure that you got your calendars updated. So the resolution that was passed was that the commission would meet on Thursdays during public hearing weeks from 5 to 6 p.m. And those meetings will be at the venue where the public hearings are held. So if we do not need a meeting, any one of these meetings, we would cancel it then. So also you should take all those regular meetings, the 9 to 12s and the 1 to 4s off your calendars during the weeks that we'll be traveling. So I just wanted to give you that update and let you know that's how that 1 hour agenda would go.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, let's move on to our next agenda item, which is the option to hold September meetings on college campuses. Communications and Outreach Director Woods, please proceed.
Thank you very much. Let me get my screen up for you. Are you able to see? Okay, wonderful. University outreach, Campus Election Engagement Project and Campus Vote Project are two organizations that work with Michigan College and University students in civic engagement. They seek to partner with us to increase awareness and solicit input from students regarding redistricting. They desire for commissioners to interact and hear directly from students on campus. By working with them directly, it provides an opportunity for the commission to engage and hear directly from students about redistricting. And we need to remember that students are not just local to that community, but come from across the state. We get to connect with the community where these campuses are located that are distinct from where we are hosting public hearings. And we get an opportunity to take advantage of the back to school vibe and use it to educate the public about redistricting, especially where we are in the process at that time. And looking at that, what we would do is we would like to move our weekly meetings in the month of September. This is a tentative schedule to Ferris State University on the 2nd, on the 9th, Eastern Michigan University on the 16th, Grand Valley, on the 23rd, Central Michigan University, and on the 30th, Oakland University. And this would, we would be on campus. So they would want commissioners, if you're able, to do presentations, interact with students. We would have our full meeting there as well in terms of taking our meeting on the road and doing that with regards to this project across the state. It gives us broader exposure. Right around that time, we'll have the legacy data and going through the mapping process. So it's just another way to show our transparency, our engagement across the state in these areas where we're not hosting public hearings. Ferris State, as you all know, where that's located in Big Rapids, Eastern Michigan, Ypsilanti, Grand Valley would be at Allendale, Central Michigan, Mount Pleasant, and Oakland University at Rochester Hills. The reason why we need to go ahead and get this recommendation approved is because the students are changing leadership as it relates to student government. So we would need to start working with their student leaders for about the last month before they go away for summer break. We have to coordinate with the universities in terms of making this happen and the protocols. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done before the end of the school year so that we can kick off fall semester if the commission is willing to go to this format of having our meetings at the college, at these universities. So that's why this is coming to you now, so that we have time to plan, acknowledge the transition in leadership at these campuses, and also work with the administration to make this possible in terms of coordinating our weekly meeting with all of our requirements with regards to making sure the technology and the setup, this would be similar to the setup that we're doing for the public hearings that we're doing now, starting off in May, making sure we have those processes and procedures available to make it work at these different sites. So the recommendations approve moving the weekly meetings in September to these university sites.
Anthony, go ahead, please.
Wonderful. I think this is a great idea. You know, it's just another chance to get out there and to engage with the public, especially since most of those universities, except for Oakland University, are commuter campuses, which means there are students from all parts of the state, you know, that attend. I do have a question though. Edward, are you coordinating with just the student leaders on campus, or are they also connecting you with their actual university facilities people to try to get, you know, a space arranged and get the technology set up and everything like that?
I'm working with the faculty sponsors in terms of doing that. So it's, in addition to the students, the faculty sponsors are the ones getting this approved by administration. It's a process that they have to go through to get the approval. And
Right.
so if the commission is not willing, then obviously they don't need to go any further. But no, the faculty sponsors would be the lead in, you know, putting this through the university process for approval. And then we'd be working with the student leaders in terms of identifying opportunities for commissioners to engage on campus.
And I assume that the university's student org funds or whatever would be used to foot the bill for this?
Well, some of the, how can I say, our requirements with regards to live streaming would be something that we would work on, but we would not be paying to rent the university facility to host a meeting. That is correct.
Wonderful.
Doug, go ahead.
I've got a couple comments relative to this. I support the idea. I think it's excellent. As Anthony had indicated, I think the timing may be wrong though. I see September as a month where we're going to be buried in doing redistricting mapping with the consultants. And my fear would be that we take these meetings and take the time, and then we're going to get inundated with public comments. And we're going to either be working 24 hours a day, literally, because that eats into, I mean, that could easily go 5 or 6 hours just for public comments. And then we got to do the mapping as well. So it's the timing that bothers me. And from a financial perspective, as long as it fits within the budget that we've approved, I'm okay with that as well. But I'd like to get some other people's comments about the timing.
Commissioner Lang?
I agree about the timing too. And then there would be the concerns about COVID. I know that they're testing the students regularly for COVID. So what guidelines are there for COVID, the cost? And then my other concern would be, we had such an outpouring of people that wanted us to have hearings, meetings in their areas. And I appreciate that some of these colleges are actually in rural areas. But I can't help but feel that people are going to look at that and be like, well, why could we not have a hearing in their area? And now they're going to do meetings in this area. I just see it being blowing up in our faces, honestly. I can see it already, but I would be concerned about the timing too, because once that, and Julianne can remind me the name of it, the other data that comes out prior to the census, once that data comes out, then we could technically be using that to draw lines until the full census data comes out. So I kind of got to agree with Doug that we're probably going to be swamped during that time, trying to get all of our ducks in a row with the maps, waiting on the official census data.
Edward, go ahead.
I want to remind the commission that, you know, wherever we meet, we're still going to have to receive public comments. This is not redoing a public hearing. It's just saying if we're meeting in person, that we would be at these sites. But whether people come in person or they come virtual, we still have to receive public comment. And so it's just a way to market our fairness, our awareness, our transparency, and our engagement. And instead of being designated in Lansing, if that's where we would normally meet, in person, we would just meet at these different locations. So the work of the commission that would take place at a weekly meeting would still happen. The public comment that the commission would receive, whether it's in person or virtual, would also still happen. So just want to make sure I'm clear with regards to those.
Okay, go ahead, MC.
I'm gonna make sure my audio here isn't weird. So
It's not.
I love this idea. And I'm thinking in particular about the way that we had this this presentation yesterday, where we recognize that we need to have a broad net to make sure that we cast awareness. And what I heard Edward say was that this is a meeting, not a public hearing. So the public comment piece, I think that's what we're going to have to deal with. And I agree with Doug and Rhonda that I have the same fear, but I guess that's kind of what I've signed up for, so to speak. Like, what I mean is that there's a lot of uncertainty and it's hard to manage it, frankly. But it does feel like if this is a meeting, we're going to be meeting anyways. And it feels like if we can be meeting sort of on site, it feels like a twofer. Like we're adding exposure and creating more awareness and to acknowledge what I think you're right, Rhonda, that we should acknowledge. I'm thinking in particular about Livingston County, right? Those folks in particular said like, hey, we want public comment. We want to be in Livingston County. And what I'm hearing from in this proposal here is that I don't think that Livingston County is ruled out. It's just that there's an organized group with many campuses who have reached out and said, hey, let's organize this, and we have to do it now because of the timing related to their schedule, right? The student schedule. And so it feels like, I wouldn't say that we're ruling out other people. It's just that we're being more inclusive with this, and there will be others. And again, there's going to be that challenge of negotiating all of the public comment, but I think that's what we're signed up for, so to speak, as the Citizens Redistricting Commission.
Yeah, I would add to that. My only comment is I think this is a great idea. I mean, we're going to be having meetings anyway, and by September, we might be having them in Lansing. So to me, having them at different facilities, I think is a good idea because it's good for outreach. My only other thought is I would like to see some adjustment on the time for these meetings if we do end up doing this, because right now we have this alternating schedule of 9 to noon and then 1 to 4. And I feel like doing a 9 a.m. meeting on a college campus, everyone's going to be asleep. So I don't think that's a great choice. And plus people are going to have to drive possibly longer than we would for Lansing. So I'd like to see some sort of more midday, like maybe 10 to 1 or 11 to say 2, so that we can accommodate for drive time and then also have people be there. Go ahead, Edward. I saw your hand go up about that.
Yeah, I just want to know, obviously, if there's a COVID concern or a surge, it's not going to happen. So let me just relieve those fears. And then as far as timing, that's negotiable because I did not know what time the commission wanted to meet. And so that's negotiable based upon what the commission wants to do. And then they would build activities around those timeframes for commissioners that are available. They really want to do a community outreach. They were outreach plan. It's not just for the students, but also for the surrounding community to be a part of it since it's right there in their area. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Lang.
So just for verification, Edward, on what you just said, as all of our meetings, they have to be open to the public. So it would be open to everybody in the public, not just the students, correct?
Absolutely correct.
Usually, in my experience with meetings like this, back when I was in student government, they usually rent out a big ballroom and they have the doors open for anybody who wants to come in, whether it be students, faculty, members of the public. They're usually pretty accommodating.
I agree. All right. Any other comments? All right. Do we have a motion to approve this option to hold September meetings on college campuses? Rhonda?
I'm sorry, Rebecca. Real quick again, Edward, can I get those potential dates up on the screen just so I can write those down?
Sure. Just give me a second, please.
I apologize, Rebecca. It just kind of.
It's okay. And Steve, I acknowledge your motion.
Can you see it?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Could I get a second on Steve's motion? I see Dustin, so motion by Commissioner Lett, seconded by Commissioner Wishes to approve the option to hold September meetings on college campuses as presented by our Communications and Outreach Director Woods. All in favor, please raise your hand to so indicate. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries. All right. All right, moving on to our next agenda item. We have future meetings and agenda items. Anything you want to add on that one, Executive Director Hammersmith? Oh, Stephen, I'm sorry. Did you have your hand up about something?
I do. Edward, could you send everybody a copy of those dates and places? Then we've got them. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, go ahead.
I have nothing new on future meetings and agenda items since yesterday, so we're good.
Okay, moving on to the next agenda item, announcements. Any announcements, comments, concerns anyone wants to share? Go ahead, Mr. Clark.
Can
You're
we
on
go
mute.
back?
Yep.
Can we go back to the future meetings discussion?
Sure.
Yeah, a number of meetings ago, sometime in March, I believe, mid-March, I brought up 4 subjects that I wanted to get on the agenda, mostly dealing with process. I think MC brought up some comments about process yesterday. Can I get some conversation going particularly relative to these public hearings? One of the process issues that I had talked about at that point in time was, what's the detail on how these public hearings are going to be conducted? And so that we come across as organized and we all understand, how this moves forward. For example, let me give you an example. An example would be, there's going to be a certain set of people that are going to want to speak, and there's going to be a certain set that aren't. So how do you identify those? How do you, in what sequential order are they brought up? How does the individual, who's the individual is going to call them up there? Is it going to be our chairperson? And if so, how do they get the list and so forth? I mean, we are down to the very detail on how all this is going to work. And we got 3 meetings left before we have our first public hearing. So that's one subject, and I'll get to the other one after you answer that, Sue.
Yes, this is definitely planned. I mentioned yesterday that we're going to talk about the public comment process next week. And on the 29th, we'll have a dry run for public hearings. There'll be scripts for the chair and vice chair, for the commissioners. The details will be shared, so everybody will feel prepared and ready. And Doug, I have your list. I have it on a note, and we're going down your list that you provided a few weeks ago and working on all those topics that you're talking about. Yes.
Okay, yeah, one of the other topics was, I believe, on coordinating communities of interest. How are we going to capture that data? Yeah, I'm assuming that's part of this process on the whole meeting that's going to be there. I mean, I would recommend that when we do that we have a form that somebody would check off, or that we would check off relative to it, like how big's the community of interest, specifically where it's located, that type of thing. A validation, some type of validation process that we're not getting a bunch of BS coming to us about a community of interest, that, somebody's got to certify that, where they're getting the data from and that sort of thing. So I would expect that to be part of it as well.
And I think you'll find that the public comment tool that's being built out by MDOS will address all of those issues. So if people will use the public comment tool, that we will capture then the communities of interest and where they are on the map. And there will be systems to look for the same email address several times, or the same name, or, things that appear to be askew. So yes, that is all being worked on.
Okay, yeah, I mean, not everybody's gonna put it in the public comment too, particularly the people out in rural areas that don't have the internet access. They're gonna just bring it up at the meetings. So as long as we have a way to capture that as well, yeah.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
absolutely. These are all conversations that are happening,
Okay,
especially with MDOT staff, with being secretary to the commission. They have a lot of these moving parts that they'll work with, but
okay, good.
your staff and MDOT staff have spent hours and hours and hours making sure that every detail will be in place for the public hearings.
Okay,
and-
so in
and we
other
will
words,
share.
stay tuned till it becomes the agenda item next week.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, thanks.
Any other comments or discussion on future meetings? Seeing none. Again, and we'll go back to the agenda item of announcements. Are there any announcements? Go ahead, General Counsel Pastula.
Thank you. I have two brief things. I've noticed again that we are getting public comments on HR1, and on March 18th, I did provide a presentation on that piece of federal legislation, which I won't replicate all of the information here. I just wanted to highlight that under the current version of HR1, We the People's Bill, that was adopted by the House and sent to the Senate, that section 2401C exempts states with independent redistricting commissions that meet certain requirements, which based on the current language, the MICRC does meet those requirements, so that they would in effect be in compliance with that legislation if it was adopted. I just again wanted to highlight that because I've seen it repeatedly in the public comments and haven't touched in depth on it since March 18th. So thank you. And the other question that I have for clarification is the PR contracts. I noticed that the motion language in the resolution language was slightly different. So I wanted to make sure that we had that guidance as staff and that clarification.
So I think the question is, did we authorize Edward to negotiate and enter into contracts with the PR agencies, or are we expecting him and staff to negotiate and then come back to us with the final contract?
And the reason, thank you, Madam Chair. And the reason is that I've pulled up the resolutions, and the language in the resolution is approves offering the contract for the promotional consultant services for the Southeast Michigan media market. And then a companion, the contract for the Michigan media market. So I just think because of the timing issue, I just wanted that clarification and that guidance. And Edward, I was hoping that you would weigh in as well on that.
Well, I'm going to defer to legal counsel. My understanding was that we were authorized to negotiate and enter into an agreement with these groups because our stuff is starting May 11th. So we're trying to get ahead of schedule simply because of, with regards to the timing. So if I have the wrong impression, then I'm glad we're having this discussion now, because that's where I was headed.
Exactly. And I think, again, to be clear, that the resolution 2021.04.13 is to offer the contracts to the promotional consultants. And the concern or the clarification that I have is that the motion language was regarding negotiating contracts. So I think there could be a distinction there. And I just wanted to make sure we were all on the same page moving forward.
Can I get a motion to just so we have clarification, can I get a motion to adopt the resolution that was presented to the commission with respect to Van Dyke Horn? Can I get a motion from someone? Go ahead, Aaron. I see Aaron so moves. Can I get a second?
Second.
Dustin, I see you seconded. Sorry, Steve. Dustin was a little faster on the draw. So we have a motion from Aaron Wagner.
Una moción.
Seconded by Commissioner Witches to approve the resolution with respect to Van Dyke Horn for their PR contract. All in favor, please raise your hand to so indicate. And I also note for the record that MC Rothhorn has verbally indicated or raised his hand electronically, so he has voted in favor. All right, all opposed, same sign. That resolution carries. Can I get a resolution with respect to McDonald? Is it McDonald Consulting, Edward?
McConnell.
McConnell Consulting. Same resolution that was submitted to us, but instead of having it be for Van Dyke Horn, McConnell Consulting for the PR contract for Southeast Michigan. Can I get a motion to approve that? Aaron, you have moving. Can I get a second? Steve, I have you seconding. So Commissioner Wagner has moved. Commissioner Lett has seconded a motion to approve the resolution with respect to McConnell Consulting for PR. If you are in favor of adopting that resolution, please raise your hand to so indicate. And I will note for the record that MC Rothhorn has his hand raised to so indicate. All opposed, please same sign. Okay, the motion carries. The resolution is adopted. All right, so now we should have that all cleaned up for the record. All right, having any additional comments or concerns before we entertain a motion to adjourn? All right, can I get a motion to adjourn our meeting?
So moved.
So Commissioner Lett has moved to adjourn. Aaron Wagner has seconded. All in favor, please raise your hand to so indicate. I note that MC Rothhorn has his hand raised. All opposed, same sign. All right, the meeting is adjourned at 12:14. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.